Boy, it's been a long time.
Pantone, the color company Pantone?
Sure.
Their color of the year is peach fuzz. And it's like a peachy color like this. So I wore this shirt today.
How did you know that?
It's talked about online.
Yeah.
Some people feel like it's a good color to pick. Some people feel like it wasn't a good choice. But I don't know. It's the choice they made.
Mm-hmm. How old are your clothes?
Some are from middle school. Some are
classics.
as new as a month ago or so.
Do they come around yet? I mean, are you old enough that the stuff that was popular back in middle school are now popular again?
Not in that sense necessarily. It's more of like the staples that I still have. Like I wear a pair of my beat up my party shoes, my high tops that I wear. They're pretty old.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I take good care of them. And there's a reason they're my party shoes. They've been to many a club and a bar and covered in glitter or stepped in dirt or something.
Yeah.
And I just clean them off and wear them again the next time I go out.
Yeah. They're for your forever shoes.
They're pretty. Eventually they'll die, but for now they're fine. But when you only wear them to go out for 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 or 5 if I'm doing a full night of partying, but if you only wear them a handful of hours a week, they last a long time.
Okay.
I mean, realistically, I'm not going to the bar every weekend, so.
Let me think. I think the oldest piece of clothing I have is a shirt I got in Hawaii in 1991. So that make it pretty old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's older than me.
Okay. There it is.
That's a lot older
And it's
than
my
me.
favorite shirt. It's kind of a purple,
Really?
kind of satin kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, you've probably got, when you think about accessories, think about, how old are your cowboy hats?
Mm-hmm.
Those are some pretty old things.
Yeah.
It's easier I feel like accessories are easier to keep for long term. I still have hair clips I wore when I was in elementary school.
Oh.
I mean, I don't wear them now, but they're fun to look at.
Yeah. My cowboy hats were custom made. Mm-hmm. And do you ever see those pin things you put your hand in on top of the pins and
Don't they do that for your head?
They do that they do it upside down and they set it down on your head so they have a perfect
measurement of your head.
And then they shape the cowboy hat. It's important because when you're wearing a beaver hat, if it rains and it gets soaked or you get caught in bad weather, it stays on your head.
Nice.
And it's very important to keep your hat on your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a long way down. Get off the horse, drag the horse back to the
hat.
Yeah, the hat gets trampled by
pretty quick when you're on top
cows
of
or
a horse.
whatever. And,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a little bit of information. Maybe we should say hi to
I think we should say hi to everybody.
Hi. Welcome back to Me and My Grandpa.
Thanks for joining us. Our final episode of the year.
Okay. So New Year's in a couple days.
Yeah, it is. It's the end of the year. Is it weird to think back to last year, New Year's? At that time, we knew we were going to do a podcast. We talked about it just after New Year's at the beginning of this year. I flew down and we did a podcast meeting to figure out the name of the podcast.
Yes.
So it's been about
time flies.
Just about a year.
This big year for you.
I guess when I think about it, it's weird to think about everything that happened this year.
Yeah. I'm not going to make a list for you.
But yeah, I graduated college and I moved across the country and now I live with my grandpa and I have a podcast with him.
Well, you really moved down the country.
Yeah.
You know where you lived before is further west than where we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Across meaning from the north down to the south.
Oh, okay.
It could be, across could be any direction.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I always thought it was across the
You
country
always think,
going west, know. Which,
east to west.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Chicago was kind of the jump-off spot for all the wagon trains there in St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't go that far back.
Oh my gosh.
I do go far enough back that there were no interstate.
Yeah, you do.
There was no interstate when
And the drinking age wasn't 21
It was for men.
when you were born?
No. When I was in high school,
Got it.
a man had to be 21 to get to drink, and women 18. Which was really pretty wild.
Because then the girls could still go get alcohol for everyone.
That's what they had to do. You
Yeah.
drive up to a package store, and all the girls going in to buy the beer and wine, whatever.
Did you guys have drive-through liquor stores by you?
No, only in Detroit.
In Wisconsin, they have them.
Did they? They still do?
They still do. My parents went to one right after they got married. They went to the drive-through.
But they have them now?
Yeah, there's still a
Really?
few left.
Oh, they did away with all of them in New Mexico.
Yeah, it's crazy to
They won't,
Crazy to
they
think
figure these people, before they get home, they're drinking, and so they stopped it.
Now there's cannabis shops everywhere that you can go to at 21 in Illinois.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well,
So much has changed. This year for you has been kind of bad. We don't need to go into the details of everything, but you're moving.
yeah.
So our first episode of the new year will be in the new house.
I'm excited about that.
Me too. I think it'll be interesting. We haven't figured out where the new shooting spot is going to be.
Well, it'll be a surprise to
It will.
everyone here.
Next
It'll
week, you'll
be-
find out.
This sofa may.
I was going to say, I think it'll probably be on the same sofa, just a
Yes,
different
we're
place.
bringing it with us. This is the podcast sofa. There.
It's the living room sofa. It's the only. There's a matching one on the other side behind the cameras that you guys can't see.
when do you call it the living room, and when do you call it the
Family room?
Family room, yeah.
In my house in Chicago, we had an upstairs and a downstairs. So our downstairs was called the family room, and the upstairs was called the living room.
Gotcha.
Because the family room is like also where you'd go to like play games or just hang out. Like we didn't play video games upstairs. Normally we played all of our video games downstairs.
Okay.
So that was called our family room.
Yeah, they didn't have video games when I was young.
When you were young. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
We're talking New Year's. Because
Okay,
it's the end of the year.
It is New Year's. How many New Years can you remember? You're so little.
I'm so little. I feel so old. I actually remember a lot of my New Year's is because New Year's was a big fun time. My dad just sent me a folder of photos just before the holidays, and it had old pictures of like me and my siblings around Christmas and New Year's. When we were really little, we'd go over to a friend's house, a whole like group of us friends, and we played games all night, and we had the little horns and the crowns and the hats for New Year's. You always get like dressed up and have fun. And of course the adults drink and it was very entertaining. And I don't like anything carbonated, so I never drink they would normally get like knockoff champagne, like non-alcoholic champagne for the kids, and I never had any interest in that. I was like, that's gross. I don't care.
Yeah.
And then we reached a point when we really enjoyed, we camped in the summer and we met all these wonderful families and some friends like we brought with us camping. We started going to the Kalahari or like the Dells, the Great Wolf Lodge. We'd go to these water parks for New Year's. And it started off that we would rent rooms together, like next to each other, and some of them were conjoining. And so there would be I was on the younger range of the kids that were all there, but they were like kids as old as like 10, 15 years older than me. All of us would go with the parents, and we'd go to the water park all day and then hang out and go to the arcade or do whatever all night. And we were in the hallway once doing races on the luggage carts.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, we hear security coming.
Uh-huh.
And so they were like, run, run. And my sister and I ran and hid like in a doorway of another hotel room, like down the hall. And they passed us and didn't say anything. But like everyone was worried they were going to get in trouble. And I remember, Silly String, like the cans of Silly String. We would go down to the bottom of the stairwell right outside the door, like the exit door, because they were like, we don't want to make a mess inside the hotel room. So we just stand right outside the exit door and spray each other with Silly String for New Year's. And then there reached a point where there were so many of us that it didn't make sense to get like hotel rooms at the water park. We then started renting. They have like condo type, like it's its own little house, and you have your own front door. And then there's a bunch of like physical rooms and a big great room with a pool table and a bar and TVs and like movie theater style chairs. And so then we'd start renting those. And there'd be a shuttle that would take you from like the little condo to the water park. And so us at a very young age, us kids knew how to dial up that little shuttle bus and be like, we have 20 people to go to the water park or the arcade or whatever it was. And one time we were partying inside the condo and someone next to us must have called and said like there was a noise complaint, which it's New Year's. Who is complaining about noise? Like, why are you going to a water park and complaining about noise? New Year's weekend or whatever it is. And so my grandma was there and they had their friends there. And so they come to the door, knock, knock, knock. And us kids open the door and they're like, is there an adult here? There's like 7 of us kids just standing there. And we were like, 1 second. And we ran and grabbed my grandma's friend, Frank. And Frank comes to the door and he's an elderly man with some gray hair and his glasses on. And he said, hello, can I help you? And they're like, oh, we got a noise complaint. Probably not this house, sorry. And they left, even though it was totally us. We were definitely a loud group. So I remember I learned my bartending skills at a very young age. We would rent out a cabana area, like with a private hot tub and TVs for New Year's Day so the boys could watch football and the kids could still have fun in the water park.
Yeah.
And we would still all be together. So we did that. And then all the moms would go drink in the, they had water bars, like pool bars that you could like swim and go to the bar and drink, but none of us kids were allowed in. So we'd have to stand on the outside on the other side of the pool and be like, Mom, I need $5 to go get some nachos. Then one of them would swim over and give us money or help us with whatever we needed. So that for a long time is what we did for New Year's. And then we kind of stopped after COVID and made some other fun new friends and have been doing New Year's with them, which is entertaining. And I don't know what we're doing this New Year's. I think we're having a party down here, just hanging out and something. I don't know. I have to figure out what I'm gonna do. It's a very hard decision when you have like young friends and then you have your family that is also fun to try and decide where do I go for New Year's, because it's fun. Like I had a serious boyfriend back when I was like finishing high school, starting college, and I was really torn. Like, do I go with my boyfriend and his family to their New Year's, or do I go with my parents to their New Year's? And sometimes it just depended on the year on what I did, because you're always missing somebody.
Yeah.
It's like if I went with my family, then I'm missing my boyfriend, but if I go with my boyfriend, then I'm missing my family. So it's a hard choice to make. It's just, I mean, it's easy to say it's just another day, but it is a very like feels momentous.
Yeah.
A lot of people make New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
Do you have any New Year's resolutions that you've actually kept? That you like remember? Like, I made this resolution and I did it all year long.
That's a good question. Let me think about that for a while.
Yeah.
I think thinking about New Year and the type of thing you've been going, most of the time, my wife Sherilyn and I would be alone on New Year's. Mm-hmm. And we'd probably, I mean, it depended on the year. Many times we stayed home because we had horses on the farm. And the fireworks, we were worried the fireworks would hurt the animals, the horses, the dogs on our horse farm. And so we'd probably hang out, watch Dick Clark on TV, and watch the ball go down in New York.
I was going to say, did you stay awake to watch the ball drop?
Yeah. And I think I think great New Year's, the Rose Bowl, incredible.
Yeah.
You know, we go to Pasadena, get up early in the morning, and trundle over to because of the time change. You know, it's very early in the morning there, and we'd get there a couple of days early and watch. The biggest thing is going and watching the floats being built.
Yeah.
They're just incredible. I mean, you can imagine everything live to make those floats. And just doing a tour of the floats where you'd be on high risers in these huge buildings that were like aircraft carriers, not carriers,
Hangars,
hangars.
like
There you
the
go.
buildings.
Yeah. And so and all these people are volunteers from all over. You'd say, where are you from? They'd say, South America, somewhere in Brazil. You come up here every year to volunteer to. Yeah, and that was fun. Going, we'd hang out somewhere in Pasadena and party. Probably the most unusual for me. Let's see, how old were you? Barely born. Was the millennium.
I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, there was a great debate on whether the millennium was
the end of the world.
First was it 1999? Is it happen the last day of 1999? Or does it end, is the century over when it hits the year 2000, 1999, changing to 2000? Or is really the 1,000 years over when the year 2000 is complete and it jumps to 2001? Big debates.
Yeah.
But I even brought with me some of the old stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, the extremists. I mean, do you know there were no flights in the air? They stop all air traffic.
No, I didn't know
Yes,
that.
because huge worries as to whether computers would stop.
Yeah.
Were they set to go beyond the date? Could they handle the data?
Could they change to a 2000?
Yeah. And so it was, and the religious groups. I mean, there were a number of evangelists who said Christ was coming, and not just them, but other groups, and that he's coming, and the world as we know it is going to change.
There's always conspiracy. The world was supposed to end in 2012, and then again some other year.
This was it.
I get it, yeah.
I mean, this was
I wasn't
really,
alive, so I don't know what it was
This
like.
was really the turn of the century signaling the change of the world. And not only would there be bugs in the computers, but Jesus was supposed to come, and the Jews are somehow connected to the evil that will ensue at this time. And all of this is going on. And of course, my love for Disney.
You went to Disney for New Year's.
I was able to, a year in advance, get a reservation into the boardwalk resort, right there. Mm-hmm. And so what they did at Disney was every 20 feet or 20 yards would be a generator. And attached to the generator was a folded down lamp tower that could go up as high as 20-some feet.
Got it.
Okay. They were concerned that all the lights at Disney World would go out.
Yeah.
And so they had generators in all of the parks, every 20 yards. And so they came to our room and they delivered free flashlights, water bottles, snack foods, and everybody's staying on the property.
That's wild.
Because they figured all their kitchens would close down and that all the rides would close down and the boats would stop running and the monorails would stop and the buses would stop.
Which is crazy.
But they actually spent fortunes.
Absolutely.
And that was really unusual. I mean, it was like, do you really believe this? I mean, do you really? And you're watching,
so much unknown.
And you're watching your watch, which is still running.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those digital watches.
Nope.
It's the kind the hand is going around. And that was probably the most unusual.
Yeah.
And we really celebrated. We're alive. We're alive.
Yeah.
And
what were New Year's like when you were little? When you were going to school? Did you guys talk about New Year's resolutions? Or was it kind of just you had winter break and then you
some
came
of that
back?
at school, some resolutions. I don't think any of us took it seriously.
Some people do. In in 2022, it was last year, I set out to do a 1-second video a day, and I did it the whole year long. I took videos every single day.
Yeah.
And occasionally I'd like miss a day, and then I'd fill it in. Like if I was going to school every day in the fall, I'd fill it in with like another clip of school. So it still technically like was the same thing I was actually doing on that day. But I have a video of the whole year long, all of 2022, a second from every single day of something I was doing.
Wow.
And it's really fun to watch back and be like, oh my gosh, I remember being at this place. Because the first half of the year, I was still doing my study abroad in Italy. So I have me eating desserts and me traveling to different countries and all these little clips of me doing different stuff. But I did it the whole year long, 365 days.
Yeah.
I thought about doing it again this year. It didn't really pan out. I didn't dedicate myself to do it as much as I did last year. Yeah. All my friends would laugh at me. I'd be like, 1 sec, I have to take my 1-second video. And you don't actually take it, like you take it for like 5 seconds and then you like clip the part that you want the 1 second to be.
Yeah, that's kind of like this show. If I do something bad, then you clip me out. I'm over.
I had a friend tell me that you should do drastic things to get better views.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were like, he should be more controversial. And I was like, I don't want to get canceled before we've even started.
Do they cancel these things?
You could get digitally canceled.
Really?
It's a concept. So like a TV show, if something bad happens that's controversial or not acceptable in society, it would get canceled, right? Like the TV show would stop filming, would stop running, would stop airing.
Okay.
But digitally, it's not like anyone is telling me whether I can post or not. They could ban me off a platform if I like did things that go against the rules. But it's not like we're doing anything of that sort. But if you say something that isn't socially acceptable or isn't okay, then they call it being canceled by internet culture, by society. And so then, like, no one watches your content. You lose all your followers, or you definitely lose all potential for sponsorships or brand deals. So a lot of people who get canceled end up, if they're successful enough, they can take a break off the internet and then come back, and people will kind of forgive them and still watch them. But for like smaller people or people who, depending on what it is, people just deem them no longer like worth watching or investing their time and energy in. So they get canceled. And then if you can't get brand deals on the internet, you're not making any money, and it's hard to survive if you're not making money.
I think, it's kind of fun to celebrate. It really is. And best movie.
Best movie?
Yeah, when Harry met Sally. I mean, at the end, it's New Year's Eve. Yeah. And he suddenly realizes he's in love with Sally. Mm-hmm. I mean, man, he's running down and I'm running with him. Yeah. I'm galloping along with him. I mean, I was so ready for him to get it right. Yeah. And he shows up, and she says, I don't want to put up with you, Harry. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have anything to do with you. She said, what? And he says, well, when you finally realize, some words he used, when you finally realize that you want to be with the one you love on New Year's Eve, that's why I'm here. Yeah. Whoa, you always make me mad. And she starts crying. Yeah, I love those love stories. And
you do.
I do, but great New Year's. How about being across from the Magic Kingdom at a resort within a football field, high up on top of a building, looking down as the place just erupts in fireworks, all of Disney World. I mean,
fireworks are pretty cool.
Yeah, sometimes I just get on one of those little boats out in the lagoon just at the right time, knowing that if I'm going across from one place to another, in the middle, boom, is when New Year's Eve is going to hit. Yeah. And that's pretty cool. Planning, where would you like to be this year on New Year's Eve? I mean, if you could forget that you're here. Just, and forget that in the past by tradition, you do this or that. Is there a place, I mean, you saw so many fabulous places in
Yeah.
Europe in your years. Is there
Yeah.
a place that you'd like to take somebody with you?
I think a trip, I mean, I love traveling. A trip to almost anywhere would be fun for New Year's. I think at some point, probably not this year, eventually I'll probably do a Disney New Year's. I think that would be entertaining. I've never done one of those. I mean, Italy holds a special place in my heart, but any of those places. But I also don't know if New Year's is the same in other places as the way we do it in America, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I've never been to New York for New Year's. People talk about how fun that it is, but also it's really cold. I don't know if I'd really want to stand out in the cold all night waiting for the ball to drop. But something like that would be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I did Colorado when I was really young to come see the horses and everything in Durango, but I haven't really been there since, so I've never been west of there to begin with. So like a California, Las Vegas, like all of those seem like they would be fun. Even like Seattle would be fun. But Colorado would be good. One of my friends lives in Denver, and it's on my list to get out there and go see her when I have enough money to buy a plane ticket.
Yeah.
I'll get out there eventually. Maya, I love you. I'll be there soon. But I sent her a meme this morning. She laughed at it. It's really weird having friends all over the country. I think
that would be new for you, yes.
I think it's really
As
different.
people spread out from having been in school together.
Yeah, because now more than ever, I mean, like, you traveled when you went to school, but a lot of people go to like whatever the nearest school is and like come back to their local hometown, wherever their family is, or they kind of stay near wherever their school is. But nowadays, a lot more people go to school farther away and then travel back home to see friends, or they go to school somewhere and then move somewhere completely different after school.
Yeah.
So it does take a lot more work to maintain those friendships. Like my best friend from like preschool, she and I grew up together and somehow decided we were both going to go to school in Milwaukee. Completely like separate of each other. We didn't have each other in mind at all when we were deciding where we were going to college. I don't even remember us talking about like where we were picking colleges very much, but it kind of just happened that we were in the same city. And obviously I made the move down here and she's still up there and we still talk all the time. And it's hard though, because like I can't just drive across town or like drive an hour and go see all my friends like I'm going home. It really has to become a whole trip, a whole weekend, a whole week to go back and see all these people. But it's kind of similar for family. I mean, we used to fly down here and do Disney with you guys. Like that was our seeing you guys trip every year. But now I do it in the other direction for the other family that I left up there. It's weird.
Yeah. I kind of, like being at my age. And those of you out there who are almost as old as me, sometimes I think it's really healthy, if not to do the New Year's resolution. I think it's really healthy to think about what you'd like to do next year.
Yeah.
And it may not be the resolution kind of thing that I'm going to do something. I think that I kind of think about what are we going to do for fun this coming year.
Yeah.
But my head's kind of in that direction. This is fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we're still doing this next year. I think some of it might be because of the technology. At some point, you may be in one place and I'll be in another place and be able to still do the podcast.
Absolutely.
Regardless of where we're at, I'd really, it's something I'd really like to see happen. I think that part of my life, though, is trying to be in touch with the values I hold.
Yeah.
And a piece of that really clarity. So a piece of that is trying to create behaviors that are consistent with those values. So I say, what are those things important to me? And I'll try to make some plans to do that. So it's going to be an exciting year for me because I just got married this last year.
You did?
Yeah, so a lot of this is brand new.
Mm-hmm. You're doing a lot of firsts. Or
It
things
is a
that
lot of firsts.
may not necessarily be firsts like in your whole life,
Yeah.
but first because when you have a new person in your life, everything you do with them, especially for that first year, is a first.
It is,
It's
but
your first New
at the
Year's,
same
it's your first
time,
Christmas.
when we say, tell us about your life, Michael, I mean, my life was wrapped up in being in love with a woman who isn't here anymore. And those are all great memories. And I like having those memories.
Yeah.
That's my history. And so now I'm making new memories, and I feel lucky I can do that. I mean, how many guys that are 80 go and get married?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. I don't even know. I only have one friend from high school that's still, that I
you
talk with. Yeah.
said this.
Yeah, but then maybe somebody watching the podcast won't remember I said that once before.
I don't know if everyone watches every episode who watches our podcast. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. How do we find these things out?
Eventually, there's data for it.
Oh, okay.
How many 80-year-olds
Yeah.
get married?
How many 80-year-olds get married? I mean, who would even think that you could fall in love again when you're 80?
Yeah. I'm trying to... Everything, there's not even a good, nothing talks about it. Everything talks about people getting married in the 80s. That's what this all wants to tell me about.
Your search engine isn't doing it, huh?
Because nobody has an answer.
Nobody has an answer.
I'm sure I could do more research and find it out.
Well,
It says 9 in 10 adults ages 60 or older have been married. But, that's not helpful.
No.
I need to know how many 80-year-olds get married.
How many got, yeah. How many 80-year-olds got married in the year 2023? That would be.
That's your job to figure out for the future of this podcast.
I'm going up to the DMV today, the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yeah, go ask the DMV. Maybe
I'll
they would
ask
know.
them, how many people...
Get married in their 80s.
Yeah. Now, we're supposed to talk about perceptions of people in our different age groups, okay? So I went and had my yearly eye test yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Yes.
I see fine. I don't have any trouble at night driving. I'm good.
Yeah.
But if you go into that room and they start testing your eyes...
You don't think it's as bad as it is.
And they ask you...
Read this line.
Do you have any problems seeing? No. How about cataracts? Do you see those cataracts that are in your eyes? No. And then she says, well, eventually you're going to have to consider cataract surgery. And she's really a good doctor, and I like her. And I say, why? And she says, well, it just happens. And I said, how will I know that it's going to happen? Do I have to prepare?
Yeah.
And she says, no, you'll just know. And she was, and I'm thinking, well, what can I do to... It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Now, do they say that to somebody 60 or 50 or 40?
If they see cataracts happening in their eyes.
Yeah.
But so did your eye prescription change at all?
No, she says that's just fine.
It's the same?
She says there's nothing more we can do to make your eyes work better.
Really?
It's just you got to wait for your eyes to fall apart.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's basically, those weren't her words.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know, is there something I can do? Because, and I do know. And you've got family that can't drive anymore. They say they can't drive at night because they can't see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's hard when
So my New Year's resolution
is to have your eyes fall apart so you can get cataract surgery.
I said, tell me about the surgery.
Yeah.
And she says, well, usually it's very safe. And I said, what is usually?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Well, sometimes it doesn't go as well as you'd like it to. And I'm going,
How can I not be one of those people?
yes. One of the great losses in the last year has been those of us who are dog lovers. When you lose a dog,
Yeah, you did lose a dog.
I lost Riley, a great black Labrador Retriever. So we're thinking of moving, and what do I come across? This beautiful oak box.
Yeah.
It looks like something you'd keep your valuables in. It says Riley on it.
It's Riley?
Yeah. So I popped it open. I thought, where would Riley like to be? In his whole world, his favorite spot was out in that yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go put him in the yard?
I did.
Did you bury him or just pour him out there?
Oh, poured them all around.
Oh, boy.
All over the place.
I'm so glad Riley's in his
I hope
happy
the
place.
new owners of this house don't find out. But, that's where he'd like to be.
Yeah.
Some of our dogs would rather be in the mountains in Colorado. And that's
an interesting
And that's
concept.
where they are.
Do you want to be buried or cremated?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be cremated.
Okay. Do you want to be spread somewhere or
A
just...
couple of places.
Okay.
I'll make a list of the top 15.
You should.
And you guys can... You like traveling.
Yeah?
I'll make a little bag here, a little bag there.
Make a list.
I'll give you a bunch of baggies, and you and the family.
Is the flights included in your will?
Of course. We'll work on it. I didn't even think of that.
You should. I will fly anywhere you need me to go.
I will. I'll talk to the lawyer.
Do it.
My favorite spots.
Yeah. I'll do it, Gramps.
I'm trying, boom, boom, boom in my head. I'm thinking, what do most people do? I don't know.
Well, some people want to be buried with their family members or
Yeah.
have their
It all
ashes
depends
put
on what you think's going to happen in the afterlife. Some people think you just kind of go to sleep and
I've really,
that's it.
I've been anxious this year thinking about that. I really try avoiding thinking about what happens after we die.
yeah.
Yeah, it really brings me a lot of stress and anxiety.
Well, when we're
I'm
off the
worried.
air, I'll give you the right answer.
Well, people talk about this happy place or whatever it is. We probably shouldn't talk about this. It's a very controversial topic, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, people have some very strong emotions about it. I really hope for the best. Like, it's not like I want us to just, be gone in the dirt,
Yeah.
but it's really, really ominous and hard to know.
When I learned how to hypnotize myself,
Yeah.
one of the things they recommended I was going through the process of being hypnotized was to go to a place that is the most beautiful place you've ever been.
Okay.
And
And what's that place for you?
for me, it was at the time in the Cayman Islands on the north side of Grand Cayman. There's some hills there, and there's a place where you can, one of my friends had a home hanging right there, and you could go down a man-made stairway, and you only have about 30 yards of beach,
Yeah.
and the sand comes and goes. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But for about 60 yards out, there's a 10-foot, now the water is as clear as you could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no deeper than 10 feet for about 60 yards, and then you get to a reef. And the water is as clear as you could imagine.
Yeah.
And there all of the fish are. Well, there's some in between, but all the different tropical fish, and the manatees, and the lobsters, and all of these beautiful critters, and the water becomes only 3 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
And you can sit there, and there's nobody around. All the tourists are on the other end of the island.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a private place. And it's beautiful. Now, if you go on the other side of the reef, it drops 1,500 feet the drop to the bottom of the sea. And it's very different down there.
Yeah.
I've only gone about 120 feet diving there.
Yeah.
And when I get that far down, everything is gray. There's no color. Even if you had this yellow shirt, you couldn't see it as yellow. All the colors disappear.
There's not enough light down there.
You're in a world of gray. Yeah. But on that little reef, that's the prettiest, most beautiful place I've ever been.
That's cool. Where do you want to go this year? This next year?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we'd like to spend a little time in Colorado.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to get to go to Puerto Rico.
You are for the first time.
No.
I know you're excited about
I
that.
am excited about going there to the mountains of Puerto Rico.
That'll be cool.
And some people will say, mountains? They're mountains? Well, you know, that's like those of us who hang out in Colorado don't think about the mountains in North Carolina,
Yeah.
all the way up to Vermont. And
Yeah.
we don't think of them as real mountains. They only go up 6,000 feet, you know, or 60-some hundred feet. 60-some hundred feet is downtown Durango, and you go up from there. It's not about, it's very beautiful, those New England states, but it isn't the mountains of the Rockies.
Yeah.
That America has so many beautiful places. Where would you like to be this year if you could go anywhere?
If I could go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to go to Italy. I don't have a ticket there yet, but I do have a Taylor Swift concert ticket.
When is it?
In July. Mid-July.
Are there any cheap flights in July? God, I think I was there in Rome in September, and
But you went during a week where there was a big event, so it was expensive.
Oh, it was outrageous.
And the good thing is I could always fly into somewhere else in Europe and take a train down to Milan.
See, you know how to do that. I'm always chicken. I really am. I
live for that kind of stuff. My friends I was very grateful that I had friends that let me take charge. And I'm good at letting other people take charge when they're going to take care of things properly. But they were really comfortable with me taking care of stuff. And they'd be like, we want to get here. You figure it out. And I would be like, yep, we're going to take this train at this time and this bus at this time here. And then we'll get there and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
There were some scares. We were at a bus station at some random time in the night and waited a very long time for our late bus to pick us up and take us where we needed to go. But we did it. We did a lot of stuff. We ran through the train station in Amsterdam and barely with a second left before the doors closed, made it onto the last train that would have gotten us back to where we needed to get on the bus to get back to where we were staying in Belgium. But I love traveling in Europe. I feel really confident about that. I would love to go to Asia. I've never been there, or Africa. There's some really cool countries and spaces over there that would be fun for me. But yeah, I'm supposed to go back to Europe. God given that I find the funds, and maybe the podcast will pop off right at the beginning of the year and give me enough money to buy a plane ticket.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that with one of my friends one of my roommates from study abroad. Her and I are going to see Taylor Swift together, which I'm so excited about. So we'll see.
Good.
Maybe some Disney. Lots of Disney.
Maybe,
I hope this next year.
Yeah, maybe San Francisco.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Union Square on New Year's Eve is really great. Well,
it'll be an interesting year. I hope it's a good year. I hope everyone listening and watching has something to look forward to this next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I think it's always a good time to think about trying something new or doing something new, even if it's not a year-long thing. It's good to have a new goal. There's a lot of concepts around, some of them are more business focused, around how can you kind of not wait until January 1st to set goals, right? You don't have to wait until the new year to be setting goals. So there's a concept called the 12-week year. Yeah. So you treat kind of 12 weeks as 3 months, as a year, and really set some more short-term goals, or really figure out what are the seasons of your life in shorter areas. It's really kind of, I'm in a place right now where I couldn't even set a 5, 10, 15-year goal right now because my life is so different than most typical people's. But
I've never done that.
Really?
No,
It's a
never
big
tried
thing.
5 years.
Yeah.
Never. I've never done 5, 10, 15, ever.
Maybe you should
maybe
try
we'll
now that
talk
you're
about
80.
that sometime.
Yeah.
And I think our time is about up.
I am so grateful for everybody watching and listening.
Yeah.
And I hope you join us in the new year.
Yeah, I hope the new year brings us peace on earth and goodwill to all mankind. That's my hope for the next year. And thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you guys. See you next year.